So who are you?
The question isn't who am I? The question is, where am I?
So where are you?
Your front porch.
Scream is an iconic 1996 horror film directed by Wes Craven that was a huge box office hit, spawned a franchise, and is considered one of the greatest horror movies of all time.
Hello?
Hello?
In the fictional town of Woodsboro, California, high school student Casey Becker, played by Drew Barrymore, receives a phone call from an unknown person.
Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Oh, just some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
As they discuss horror movies, the caller turns threatening and ominous.
Shit. Yes?
I told you not to hang up on me.
What do you want?
To talk.
Well, dial someone else, okay? Listen, asshole!
No, you listen, you little bitch. You hang up on me again, I'll gut you like a fish, understand?
Eventually, the caller reveals that her high school football-playing boyfriend, Stephen Orth, played by Kevin Patrick Walls, is tied to a chair on her back patio.
Name the killer in Friday the 13th.
Jason! Jason!
I'm sorry. That's the wrong answer.
No, it's not! No, it's not! It was Jason!
Afraid not? No way.
Listen, it was Jason! I saw that movie 20 goddamn times!
Then you should know Jason's mother, Mrs. Voorhees, was the original killer. Jason didn't show up until the sequel. I'm afraid that was a wrong answer.
You tricked me.
Lucky for you, there's a bonus round. But poor Steve, I'm afraid he's out.
After taunting her and murdering Steve, Casey tries her best to escape the killer, to no avail. The following day, student Sydney Prescott, played by Neve Campbell, heads to school, and she gets filled in on the previous night's events by her friend Tatum Riley, played by Rose McGowan.
Casey Becker and Steve Orth were killed last night.
No way!
And we're not just talking killed, we're talking splatter movie killed. Ripped open from end to end.
Sydney had achieved national notoriety a year earlier after her mother Maureen Prescott's brutal rape and murder. Sydney's testimony was key to the prosecution and helped put the alleged killer behind bars and on death row. Sydney joins her boyfriend Billy Loomis, played by Skeet Ulrich, Tatum and her boyfriend Stu Mocker, played by Matthew Lillard, and their friend Randy Meeks, played by Jamie Kennedy, who all sit over lunch and discuss the murders. Randy uses his vast knowledge of movie trivia to try and decipher who the killer may be.
There's no way a girl could have killed him.
That is so sexist. The killer could easily be female. Basic instinct.
That was an ice pick. Not exactly the same thing. Yeah, Casey and Steve were completely hollowed out.
Hey, Stu, didn't you used to date Casey?
Yeah, for like 2 seconds. Before she dumped him for Steve.
I thought you dumped it for me.
I did, he's full of shit. And are the police aware that you dated the victim? I didn't kill anybody. Nobody said you did.
Later that night, with her father gone on a business trip, Sydney's home alone and receives a phone call.
Nice try, Randy. Tell Tatum to hurry up, okay? Bye now.
If you hang up on me, you'll die just like your mother. Do you want to die, Sydney? Your mother sure didn't.
Fuck you, you creep.
After narrowly surviving the attack, Deputy Dewey Riley, Tatum's brother, played by David Arquette, arrests Sydney's boyfriend. leading to speculation that the killer may have been apprehended.
What do you got, Dewey? I caught him, Sheriff. Wait. Who is it? Billy Loomis.
Sheriff, call these guys off. I didn't do it.
This also gives Sidney a chance to confront Gale Weathers, played by Courteney Cox, an ambitious national talk show host who wrote a best-selling book casting doubt on Sidney's testimony during her mother's murder trial.
So, how's the book?
Well, it'll be out later this year.
Oh, I'll look for it.
I'll send you a copy.
Nice shot.
Bitch.
No, I mean,
While staying at Tatum's house, the killer calls again, terrorizing Sid.
Leave me alone.
Looks like you fingered the wrong guy. Again.
The next morning, Dewey confirms that the killer is still at large. At school, Sidney confronts Gale about the claims in her book.
Your mother's murder was last year's hottest court case. Somebody was going to write a book about it.
Right, and it had to be you with all your lies and bullshit theories.
What is your problem? You got what you wanted. Cotton Weary's in jail. They're going to gas him. A book is not going to change that.
During the trial, you did all those stories about me. You called me a liar.
I think you falsely identified him, yes.
He raped her, and then he butchered her. Her blood was all over his coat.
He left his coat at your house after your mother seduced him.
I saw him leave wearing it.
No, you saw someone leave wearing that coat.
No. Cotton murdered my mother.
You're not so sure anymore, are you?
Sid also feels emotionally distressed after Billy carelessly scolds her for being different since her mother's murder.
You haven't been the same since your mother died.
Is your brain leaking? My mom was killed. I can't believe you're bringing this up.
I know, it's been a year.
Tomorrow. 1 year tomorrow.
I know, I think it's time you got over that. I mean, when my mom left my dad, I accepted it. It's the way it is. She's not coming back.
To add even more emotional trauma, a couple of preppy girls in the bathroom talk crap about Sidney's mother having been promiscuous.
She has her own bubble butt boyfriend, Billy.
Maybe she's a slut, just like her mother.
You're evil. Please, it's a common fact.
Her mother was a tramp.
Cut some slack. She watched her mom get butchered. And it fucked her up royally. Think about it.
Her mother's death leaves her disturbed and hostile in a cruel and inhumane world. She's delusional.
Tatum also tells Sidney that she frequently heard rumors about her mother's sexual exploits. After school, the principal, Mr. Himbry, played in an uncredited role by Henry Winkler, becomes another victim of Ghostface. In the meantime, Randy, working at the video store, talks to Stu and surmises that Billy is probably the killer, and that the cops need to watch more horror movies to help them solve the crime.
What's that werewolf movie with E.T.'s mom in it?
The Howling, horror, straight ahead.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, now that's in poor taste.
What?
If you were the only suspect in a senseless bloodbath, would you be standing in the horror section?
He didn't do anything.
You're such a little lapdog. He's got killer printed all over his forehead.
Okay. Really? Why'd the cops let him go, smart guy?
Because obviously they don't watch enough movies. This is standard horror movie stuff.
I think it's her father. Why can't they find her pops, man?
Because he's probably dead. I'm telling you, the dad's a red herring. It's Billy. How do we know you're not the killer? Hi, Billy. Maybe your movie-freaked mind lost its reality button. You ever think of that? You're absolutely right. I'm the first to admit it. If this were a scary movie, I'd be the prime suspect. That's right.
What would be your motive?
It's the millennium. Motives are incidental.
Good kid. Millennium. Good word, my man.
Are you telling me that's not a killer?
All of this culminates with a large party at Stu's house, well on the outskirts of town, where more mayhem will ensue. This film was written in 1994 by Kevin Williamson. One night while house-sitting, he watched a Turning Point documentary about the serial killer Danny Rawling, known as the Gainesville Ripper, who killed 8 people in Florida and Louisiana in 1989 and 1990. He spent the next 3 days writing a script, and he also drafted 2 outlines for possible sequels. With slasher movies from the 1970s and 1980s having declined in popularity, he wrote characters that were intentionally knowledgeable about horror films to create a unique storyline. The script originally had the movie set in Williamson's hometown of Bayboro, North Carolina. This was later changed to a fictional town called Woodsboro, California. Wes Craven, known for directing such horror classics as The Last House on the Left, The Hills Have Eyes, and A Nightmare on Elm Street, was brought on as the director. Filming took place over 8 weeks in California from April to June of 1996. The title of the film was not Scream. The title of the film all the way through production was Scary Movie. And this title was even uttered at the end of the movie by Courteney Cox's character.
Several more local teens are dead, bringing to an end the harrowing mystery of the mass killings that has terrified this peaceful community, like the plot of some scary movie.
The movie title was changed after some producers felt that it would lead audiences to believe that the movie was a comedy instead of a horror film. Wes Craven's very first choice to play the role of Sidney Prescott was Molly Ringwald, and she was offered the role. Molly Ringwald had played high school students as far back as 1984, and by 1996, she declined the role, saying that she'd rather not play a high school student at the age of 27. The role of Sidney was then planned for Drew Barrymore, but she backed out and decided to take a smaller role as Casey Becker, the first victim. The marketing for Scream positioned Drew Barrymore as the lead character on posters, intentionally trying to shock the audience when her character is killed early on in the film. Reese Witherspoon turned down the role of Sidney Prescott, and Claire Danes and Vanessa Shaw were both offered. Melissa Joan Hart, Brittany Murphy, A.J. Langer, Alicia Witt, Melanie Linsky, and Melinda Clark all auditioned for or screen tested for the role of Sidney Prescott. Wes Craven had seen Neve Campbell on the hit Fox network show Party of Five and asked her to audition for the role. He believed she could portray a character who was innocent, but who could also realistically handle herself with the physical and emotional conflict of the role. Her Party of Five co-star Jennifer Love Hewitt would go on to star in another Kevin Williamson-written horror film, I Know What You Did Last Summer, which was released the following year in 1997. Elizabeth Berkley auditioned for the role of Gale Weathers, but she was immediately turned down due to the backlash she had received from the film Showgirls. The filmmakers wanted a recognizable face for the role of the hard-hitting, bitchy news reporter. Janine Garofalo turned the role down, so the filmmakers went to Brooke Shields. She turned the role down as well. Courteney Cox approached the production to pursue the role herself. She was interested in playing a bitch character to offset her nice character from Friends. This image was the main reason why producers initially refused to consider Courteney Cox for the role, but she lobbied the studio hard, and eventually she succeeded. David Arquette approached the role of Dewey Riley as a guy who wants to be John Wayne, but he's just got a heart of gold, and nobody gives him the respect he deserves.
The sheriff just radioed. Somebody reported a car in the bushes down the road. I'm gonna go check it out. You care to join me?
I'd love to, if you're sure it's all right.
Ma'am, I'm the deputy of this town.
The character of Dewey was supposed to die from his stab wound in the back. Wes Craven filmed the scene at the end of the movie where he is alive and being taken to the hospital just in case he changed his mind about killing Dewey. The screen test audience loved the character of Dewey so much that Wes Craven decided to add his survival scene in the final cut. Joaquin Phoenix turned down the role of Billy Loomis. Justin Whalen was considered for the role and even screen-tested opposite Neve Campbell when she was auditioning. Freddie Prinze Jr. auditioned for the role of Stu, and for the role of Randy, Seth Green, Breckin Meyer, and Jason Lee all auditioned. Jamie Kennedy was chosen for the role of Randy because he would often improvise humor into his lines, and that made Wes Craven laugh.
When do we see Jamie Lee's brat? Brett, not until Trading Places in '83. Jamie Lee was always the virgin in horror movies. She never showed her tits till she went legit.
Could afford a decent pair.
What'd you say?
Marley Shelton, Melinda Clarke, Natasha Lyonne, and Thora Birch all auditioned for the role of Tatum Riley. Rebecca Gayheart also auditioned for the role, but she had a scheduling conflict and couldn't land it. Actress Charlotte Ayana was also considered. Rose McGowan dyed her hair blonde for the role of Tatum in order to contrast her natural brown hair from that of Neve Campbell. Neve Campbell and Matthew Lillard would date for 2 years following their work together on this film, and David Arquette and Courtney Cox would end up married. The Mask is based off of the painting Scream by Edvard Munch, and the characters on the cover of the Pink Floyd album The Wall. They also based it off the ghostly characters that appeared in the 1930s Betty Boop cartoons. The mask is stark white and depicts a caricature of someone screaming and crying at the same time, making it very disturbing.
Get in the car. Drive down to the Mackenzies.
No, my daughter.
Let's go. Call the police.
I want you to go down the stairs and out the front door. And I want you to go down the street to the Mackenzies' house. I want you to tell them to call the police.
The character of Billy Loomis is named after John Gavin's character of Sam Loomis in Psycho and Donald Pleasant's character of Sam Loomis in Halloween. In another scene, Billy Loomis climbs through Sydney's bedroom window, startling her, just like Johnny Depp did to Heather Langenkamp in Wes Craven's 1984 film A Nightmare on Elm Street. The death of Principal Himbry was added to the film after producer Bob Weinstein noticed that there was about 30 pages in the script where nobody died and told Kevin Williamson, kill somebody. Subsequently, the addition of the scene gave Kevin Williamson a good reason to have all the party guests leave the party house near the climax. When Henry Winkler opens the closet door, his leather Fonzie jacket from Happy Days is hanging inside. The special effects artist used about 50 gallons of fake blood, and the party scene near the end of the film runs 42 minutes long. It was shot over the course of 21 days from sunset to sunrise, and after it wrapped, the crew had t-shirts made that read, "I survived scene 118. This film was released in December, 5 days before Christmas. The studio did this because during the Christmas season, family-friendly movies are usually released, and they wanted to give the horror audience something to see at a time when no other horror films were out. It opened at number 4 with $6.4 million, and the studio thought it was going to be a flop. However, Scream had really good word of mouth, and every week it went up and up and up. Eventually, Scream grossed a worldwide total of $173 million, making it a huge success. Scream was shown in theaters for nearly 8 months after its release and became the 13th highest grossing film of 1996 in the United States. This movie was unique because it was a self-aware horror movie. The characters speak about horror films and horror movie tropes.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie. For instance, number 1, you can never have sex. No. Big no-no! Big no!
I'm a dead man.
Number 2, you can never drink or do drugs. No, the sin factor. It's a sin. It's an extension of number 1. And number 3, never, ever, ever, under any circumstances say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.
I'm getting another beer. You want one?
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right back.
This type of angle had never really been done before in the horror genre, which by 1996 had pretty much dried up. Scream reinvigorated it. Films like I Know What You Did Last Summer, Halloween H2O, Urban Legend, Disturbing Behavior, The Faculty, all would take a page from Scream. These movies would often cast young popular television actors and actresses in the roles. Neve Campbell and Jennifer Love Hewitt from Party of Five, Sarah Michelle Gellar from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Joshua Jackson, Michelle Williams, Katie Holmes, all from Dawson's Creek. All of them would be cast in lead roles in these late 1990s horror films. I saw this film upon its summer 1997 VHS release, and I remember it was terrifying. My older sister had seen it with her friends, and I remember her sitting at the base of the steps of our house with her hands covering her ears during the opening Drew Barrymore scene. This movie was shocking, graphic, and scary as hell in the 1990s. I highly recommend the 1990s horror classic Scream.